The following program, The Lightning Strike, is sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of News Web Radio Company or its management.
Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, Chicago, and welcome to another episode of the Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Fahim. John Arena would not be joining us in the studio today, and so would Ken DeLuc. Ken is not doing too well, but we have our newest co-host joining us from today on the Lightning Strike. Good morning, Marie.
Good morning, Mohammed. How are you?
I am doing very well. Thank you so much for coming on board as part of our team. Let's make things happen. So, folks, Congresswoman Marie Newman is going to be joining us on the team every Sunday. And if you have any questions, concerns with her background, with her experience, we will be really cranking up the pace on the Lightning Strike now. So today, Marie, I wanted to talk about Project 2025, the Republicans' playbook, if they come into power. And I'm kind of putting the if in air quotes over here. We're also going to talk about Trump and the boat factory. I don't know what happened when the guy went off the boat. The CPI index, 7 big things. Items are coming down. Inflation is coming down. We're also going to talk about the Supreme Court ruling on mifepristone, the abortion pill. And, of course, I think we need an audit of the Pentagon and the Department of Defense budget. So, folks, lots of things to catch. Happy Father's Day to everybody, and happy Eid al-Adha to all the people that are celebrating the Eid today in the Chicagoland area and beyond. Marie, good morning again. So, Project 2025, let's go into it.
Sure. So it is, the reason I'm so pleased you're speaking about it today, Mohammed, is that it hasn't been covered, I think, enough. I think it picked up some steam this week simply because of the gravity and egregious nature of their playbook. So it's everything that most Americans don't want, quite frankly. So it's everything from full-on abortion bans to guns in classrooms to Muslim bans to a wide variety of inequities across the economy, including creating more tax cuts for billionaires. It is just a long list of things that I just wrote about it on Substack, and not very many Americans are aware of it. But it goes all the way to replacing current civil servants with not just Republican-oriented folks, but that they are loyalists to MAGA and to Trump. So that is just a whole other step, right? So that's a highlight of what this platform is. It does have a website for those who are inclined, and it's Project 2025. So go look at it. It'll blow your hair back. And then finally, what I would add to that is that this agenda is not a maybe kind of sort of ethereal thing that they're slapping together. It is a 900-page tome that the Heritage Foundation wrote. I was there.
So, folks, here's the thing. Okay, if we are not informed, we are going to lose out big way. So project2025.org is the website. They're not making any excuses about what they want to do to us as Americans, folks. Go and check out. So when you look at the website, it starts off with policy, the personnel, training, and then there's a playbook. So the fourth pillar of Project 2025 is a 180-day transition playbook. And this includes a comprehensive, concrete transition plan for each federal agency, like Marie just said. So only through the implementation of these things, they want to make sure that the next conservative presidential administration is going to be successful. like Marie just said, it'll blow your hair back. If you don't have any hair on your head, man, you're going to feel the heat on every single person in our country. The number to call in, folks, if you want to join the conversation is 773-763-9278. Let me repeat the number again, 773-763-9278. And we are going to be talking every Sunday, believe it or not, till the November 5th election, to educate you, to inform you, to make sure that you are aware of where the far right is headed, folks. It is scary. Right, Marie?
Gosh, I don't know any way how else to categorize the level of. I wish I had a good adjective that would describe how much our life will change. The dramatic and significant changes that would be. We've seen the IVF access being limited in certain states, and now, in other states. Interestingly, the most recent Supreme Court ruling on it was favorable, weirdly, but I don't think that we should be coddled into acquiescence. I think they're cooking up other things at the state level. But we should be. And what's funny is that I'm all about hope and being positive, and I think that there are good things that can happen if we keep Biden in the presidency, even though I am incredibly angry with him over Gaza and a few other things. It's better than the alternative. But this is we can't go by the way of sitting this one out. Can't sit this one out.
Okay, folks, again, if you are new to the Lightning Strike, you can go to our website, which is tlschicago.com, and check out what we are all about. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this with more conversations with Marie Newman. And if you want to join the conversation, feel free. The number to call in 773-763-9278.
Are you a business looking for the right talent or a job seeker searching for your dream career? Look no further than the Center for Strategic Solutions, your workforce solution experts. Our experienced team at the Center for Strategic Solutions is dedicated to connecting employers with top-tier talent and helping job seekers find opportunities that truly align with their goals. We're more than just consultants. We're your partners in success. Ready to take your workforce to the next level or land that ideal job? Contact the Center for Strategic Solutions today at 1-847-306-9274 or visit us online at www.cfssus.com. The Center for Strategic Solutions, your bridge to a brighter future in the Windy City. The number to call is 847-306-9274 or send an email to info@cfssus.com. That is info@cfssus.com.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Welcome back, folks, and we are talking about something incredibly important for the future of our country today. The Project 2025 that the far-right Republicans have come up with, a 900-page tome of drivel, and you have to really go and watch it, listen to what we're trying to tell you, so that we can have an administration going forward that really reflects the will of the people and not the will of the few chosen ones that these guys want to bring into the administration at all levels. We got Ron from Michigan joining us. Ron, we got Marie Newman who's joining us from today as a co-host on the Lightning Strike. Go ahead, Ron. You got any questions, suggestions? How do we take our country back and keep it?
Well, Mohammed, and hello, Marie. I'd like to tell you what I heard. Hello. I'd like to tell you what I heard Ben Shapiro and Pete Hedwig. He's the fascist host on Fox, but a former military person. But they said once they take over, the military, all high-ranking military, like the general leadership, will be eliminated because they're all woke, because they were trained in universities, liberal universities, you name it, Michigan State, everywhere. And then they also said that the officer class under them are woke too. Mm-hmm. And then they also said the junior officer class, the ones who came out of ROTC, West Point, OCS, they are all woke too because they came out of liberal educations, and they must be eliminated. That is and we cannot eliminate any thought that these people, because they're going to try and steal the election. Absolutely, it's going to be a fight. If we've got to get the numbers out and more numbers out, but it's going to be a fight. If we have the right numbers, if we have it, it's going to be a fight. And if they take control, I cannot see how the military is going to peacefully allow, because they've called for the hanging of General Milley. You've heard that. Trump and the other fascists. But the thing of it is too, I remember the '68 convention. I'm old enough to remember. I was 19. Okay, and this convention in Chicago is going to be even bigger and more violent because in Chicago in '68 we only had we didn't have international people coming in. It was all local, almost all local people from Chicago, and you had yippies and hippies coming from all over the United States. But in this one, you're going to have international people coming in. Already, we're seeing people at the border who have ties to terrorists. But our police will not be able to handle it. The National Guard will not be able to handle it. And we have to go next to the 82nd Airborne. And already that is our elite unit, right? For if there's any insurrection and they are in turmoil because they are split with Trumpism and Americanism. So, we are in for. We have to be aware. We cannot be afraid, but we have to be aware, and we have to fight for this election and be ready to fight.
Absolutely. Ron, thank you so much for listening in. Thank you so much for calling up. And here's the thing, Ron. Okay, the best thing that we can do, obviously, the people that are supporting this agenda for lack of a better word, for mayhem in our country, are putting in a lot of money to get the word out. Okay, so how can we fight? I think the best way that we can do it is by really talking to our neighbors. And this is what I've been preaching for a while now. The media is fine, but talk to your immediate neighbors. Talk to your family, okay? Most of the time we don't realize that it is darkest under the lamp, okay? The light is all over, but if you look under the lamp, there is no light. So bring light to your immediate neighbors in the immediate neighborhood, and definitely we can continue on the path that we are on. Just look at it, man. Everything that you consider now, unemployment numbers are the lowest that they have been in the history of our country. So don't tell me that things are going wrong just because of a few policy decisions. Yeah, fine. There are so many other aspects that go into making policy. And Marie has been part of the policy-making process in Congress for a while before, she ran and she was redistricted out of her district. Don't ask me why, but that's what happened. So, Marie, from a policy perspective now, what do you think that we should be considering going forward?
Yeah, let me tap into something that Ron shared with us, and thank you for your comments, Ron. The notion that if Trump comes in, that we'll have policy built inside the military the way that the Project 2025 is articulating. And so that theory is that it will be all loyalists. So that goes into the military. So Ron is really shared an acute point, is that when legal scholars analyze this 900-page tome called Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation, they've identified that the policymakers inside that body reject the notion of three separate branches and checks and balances.
Yep.
And so what that's called is a unitary executive theory of Constitution and law, which flies in the face of the Constitution. But this is what they're moving forward. So at the very basic level, the basis of because our democracy is not just a democracy, it's a blend of a republic and a democracy, right? So it really depends on those three parts of government, branches of government, to keep checks and balances. So if the military is askew and has loyalists, and then all the rest of the branches have complete loyalism attached to how they do their job, it'll be a giant problem. So unitary executive theory is what the Heritage Foundation is espousing in this document as well. So it is scary to have a military that is only devout to its leader, not to our Constitution. That's a huge problem. So we do have to be wary about that. And I'm going to tap into something you said, Mohammed, about talking to our neighbors. Find your friends that are independent. This is how we can win just mathematically. It's almost a mathematics strategy, is that if we can get more than 60% of the independent voters in this country to understand that however you feel about both candidates, there's only one candidate that is sane and has had a, by and large, good economic policy. Just so everybody knows, independent voters can vote on three things. One is they don't like chaos at all. They like things to be orderly and stay in place, and, we follow the law, we follow the Constitution, right? The second thing that is important to them is the economy. Is the economy in good shape? And it is, by and large. Is there inequity in wage gap? Is there, are prices where we want them to be? No, but they're getting better, right? So we're going in the right direction. And then the third thing is that they want a country where you can still do all the things that you want to do, that you have free speech and all of that. And so those three things that are important to independent voters, they will not get those with Project 2025. So talk to your friends, family, and neighbors that are independent voters and just say, hey, this vote is not forever, but for the next 4 years, this is the only path. We only have two choices, right?
Yep.
We all know RFK can't win. So, and nothing against RFK. God bless him for running. I am a person that appreciates people should run for Congress or for the presidency or whatever they want. But he's not going to win. So your real choices are between Trump and Biden. So this is a temporary vote for the next 4 years so that we don't have chaos.
Well, that's something that I want you, again, folks, to understand. That, we have a couple of independents who are trying to run, like Cornel West and Jill Stein and others, okay? That's fine. All the more power to them. But we know that currently they don't have a chance of winning this election. So if they come in and they screw up the numbers and we end up with, God forbid, a convicted felon in the White House, how are we going to justify that to our upcoming generations and our kids and our grandkids? We have to look at this in a totally binary fashion at this point, folks. You have Biden, Biden has done some things that I am not really, really proud of, okay? His uncommitted commitment to the war in Gaza and Israel, I'm against that. We all know that, okay? But what are the choices? Do you think Trump is going to come in and he's going to be so much in favor of the Palestinian people that he's going to say, oh, okay, no more war? Heck no. Trump is going to be worse for the Palestinian than you and I can even imagine, folks. Again, the number to call in is 773-763-9278. You are tuned into the Lightning Strike, and we come every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 on WCPT, where facts matter. So if you want to say something, make sure that it is factual. We don't want people to come in with innuendos and all kinds of theories about this and theories about that. We also have Bill on the line. Bill is our music director. And Bill, thank you so much for joining in. What's happening in your world, Bill?
Hey, Mohammed, happy Father's Day, and I forget, what do you call it in Islam? What's the holiday?
We have the Eid al-Adha, which is the feast of the sacrifice. See, in Islam we have two major holidays that we celebrate, or major celebrations. One is after the fasting of Ramadan, the 30 days of Ramadan, and then the Eid al-Adha, which is after the annual pilgrimage, which is the Hajj. So the Hajj is today, and we celebrate the Eid al-Adha, which basically goes back to the Abrahamic tradition of Abraham getting a vision from God that God wanted him to sacrifice his dearest son. And in the Christian tradition, it is, we've got Ishmael in the Islamic tradition. And so he goes over there and wants to sacrifice his son, and at the last minute, he's replaced by a goat or a lamb. So that's basically that's what we celebrate to continue the tradition. And Bill, you were saying something very interesting the other day about the sacrificial lamb in Christianity. What was that?
Well, yeah, I believe you're correct. I think the Christians say that Abraham was going to sacrifice. I thought it was Isaac.
Isaac, yeah. We say Ishmael. Christians say Isaac.
Right, and in the Christian religion, the lamb or the goat or the ram, I think it might have been in the story, is a picture of Jesus Christ that sacrificed for all of our sins. So it's interesting that we both kind of have the same stories. So I was very interested in that. And like you said, if you're going to hear something about Islam, talk to an Islamic.
And that's what I always say, folks. If you want to learn about Christianity, talk to a practicing Christian. Not any Christian, okay? Practicing Christian, okay? And Bill obviously is a practicing Christian. If you want to talk about Islam, learn about Islam, talk to a Muslim. I'm not an Islamic preacher, so please don't call me up and say, hey, what do you think about this and that? I don't have much knowledge. I'm learning also. But happy Father's Day to everybody. And we've got Marie Newman joining us on the show from today. Bill, what do you think of that, man?
Oh, well, I just tuned in a little bit late, but it's some interesting conversation, and you guys always have some great stuff on there. Again, I don't believe I'm not in agreement with everything, but it's still interesting stuff, and I appreciate what you do.
Hey, Bill, here's the thing, okay? We don't want to talk to people who agree with us all the time. That's not conversation. So we love it when people on the right also join the conversation. In fact, I encourage people on the right to please tune in and listen, so that you get the perspective from both sides. And Marie has got a great background in public service and government. I mean, she knows what really makes things happen. And today we are talking about the Project 2025. Bill, if you have not had a chance to read about this, please go to project2025.org. It'll make your hair stand on end. They want to dismantle.
I will look it up.
Yeah, they want to dismantle everything that our country stands for. Okay. Anything happening, Bill, in the music world that we need to know about before we go forward?
Yeah, well, say it's I call it Riot Fest season, and I wasn't really a punk rock guy until my son got a little older, and he took me to my first Riot Fest concert in Humboldt Park at the time. That was about 10 or 12 years ago. And you know what? I always say you go to a Riot Fest, and boy, it's great crowd watching, but the people are so nice. Sometimes you go to a country concert and you bump into someone. Someone at a Riot Fest, he's got leather studs all over and a leather jacket with steel studs, and you bump into them and they apologize to you. Great people and great music. So I see here next week, Saturday at Reggie's, that's a great venue, 2105 South State. You got an old punk band, Sham 69, and it's always a great time at Reggie's. So any of you punk people, and then again, I won't say I am one, but I've got a lot of respect for some of the bands, and I would definitely go see them.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And that's Bill Shepard, folks. In case you want to follow Bill, do go and send a message out to him. You can reach him at bill@tlschicago.com. And always Bill is there to help us out whenever we want. Let us turn back to our conversation today, Marie. So I wanted to talk about the Supreme Court recent decision to maintain access to the abortion pill in a unanimous decision now. So the Supreme Court, folks, has rejected a lawsuit challenging the Food and Drug Administration's approach to regulating the abortion pill, mifepristone, with a ruling that will continue to allow the pills to be mailed to patients without an in-person doctor's visit. Okay. So Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote the opinion for the court in a unanimous court decision. So this ruling is significant setback for the anti-abortion movement. And what was the first major Supreme Court case on reproductive rights? When the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade in 2022. You all remember that, right? So the appeal was filed by anti-abortion doctors who said their practices have been affected because they must treat women who had complications from the drug. Now, the FDA and outside medical groups have stressed that mifepristone is safe. The doctors have faced scrutiny now whether they've been harmed in a way that gives them standing to sue. And this is a very significant decision by the Supreme Court. And let's see where it leads to, because the Supreme Court is still very much biased. Marie, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, quite frankly, I was surprised that they ruled the way that they did. They did rule on the law, which was pleasing, but I don't think we should be appeased by this because this is a temporary measure. If there is another case brought to them, and remember, this case was largely about the FDA and their ability, and so they had to rule the way that they did. At the state level, we have grievous concerns that several southern states have all but restricted this type of abortion pill distribution, right? So we have to stay quite vigilant. I'm so proud of our Illinois state legislators that they have insulated us from this and will allow the transfer of abortion pills to be distributed. But it is. I just tell everybody, it's like, wow, keep watching this. Don't sit back and go, phew. This is over now. It's not.
It's not. It's not, because basically what the court has said that they did not have standing to sue. Okay, they are not saying that this is right or this is wrong. They're challenging the procedure of it, the standing of it. Okay, the court is still very much against giving women the power over their own bodies.
Right. That's exactly right. That's well said, Mohammed. And we still have to make sure that we insulate every state, and then ultimately, and another good reason, let's just tie it back to the election, right? Again, you don't have to think that Joe Biden is perfect to vote for him. By the way, just as a reminder, everyone, you're not voting for your friend. You're not going to be going out to dinner with them. You're not going to be going to communions and bat mitzvahs with them. You are going to be asking that person to do a job. And whenever you're, I'm sure you've hired hundreds of people in over the years like I have. And there's never been a time, I've never found a perfect candidate ever, right, to hire.
Of course,
There's always something that's a little bit concerning or not perfect, right? So when you're hiring a president, it's the same thing. You're not going to be their friend. You're not going to be hanging out with them. You're not even really going to be working with them. You are telling them what you want and what you need. So we can keep doing all of that and putting pressure on all politicians, not just the president. But you are hiring them to do a job. And if they are better than the other candidate, then they deserve the job. So please vote that way, because tying it back to the abortion pill, you know what the other guy's going to do. He's just going to put bans. He's been very clear. Believe him when he says that I'm going to leave it up to the states. That is not going to be good enough, because he's going to have a congressional body that then, in fact, will and hopefully we keep the House and the Senate. But he is going to push for a full-on federal abortion ban. Make no mistake, and he has a lot of leverage, right? Because the way our electoral college, say that fast, is set up, is that it's in his favor. So this ruling tells us this is another reason that your best bet is to vote for Biden, even if you disagree with him on key things like I do, and I do. I have these concerns about a few things. So,
well, we all have concerns, folks. Here's the thing: when Marie just said something about hiring someone. So all these representatives that we elect, basically we are hiring them, we are paying them from our tax dollars, and we have to hold our elected representatives accountable. Just don't sit back after the election and wait for the next election before you say, oh, I'm going to make sure that this person does not get reelected. Be in their face. Okay, you can reach out to any congressperson by phone, by email, you can be there in person also. So when your congressperson or your state representative, your elected people that you have elected, hold them accountable for their decisions. That's the only way that we can make this country better. But the most important thing, Marie, and I hope you agree with me, we need more people to register to vote and to come out to vote. The voter percentage turnout in our country is so terrible. We are allowing the tail to wag the dog, and then we wonder what happened. Yeah, why are these people not doing the things? Well, you come out and you elect the right people. Indian elections are a great example of what happened recently. Okay, the Modi government in India is probably the worst government that you could ever hope to have in any country which calls itself a democratic country. It has been nothing but autocratic. Before the elections, most of the prominent opposition leaders were jailed. Most of the other parties that were going to contest, their accounts were seized. Okay, the Modi government tried everything possible to make sure that they get reelected. They did get reelected for a third term, but with a razor-thin majority, and now they have to have the support of other parties. But here's where I'm going with this, folks. The voter turnout on an average was above 65% across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about that number compared to what we get over here. We are lucky if we get 30% voter turnout, right?
Right.
So
a tragedy.
That's the tragedy, folks. We have such a great country. We are supposed to have all the freedoms in the world, but if we don't get up and participate in this great experiment called democracy, we're going to end up with someone who wants to be a dictator for a day on his first day in office. I'm not going to take names here, but you all know who I mean. Okay.
I think you're so right, Mohammed. That example of what happened in India, and they unexpectedly, they gave Modi a run for his money unexpectedly because all the polls had him in a landslide because those are skewed, obviously, too.
Yeah,
right?
all the exit polls were so badly skewed. And it was like he barely managed to squeeze through with his the hair on his chinny chin or something.
Right.
Okay,
100%. Yeah, it was very close, and it was not supposed to even before the election, before the exit polls. They were saying, "Oh, he's going to win by 50 points," and that was not the case at all.
Yeah. So they were projecting they were projecting a landslide over there. Okay, but here's the thing again. Yeah. People sat up and said, we have had enough of this Hindu-Muslim thing that Modi was trying to bring together, have people fight each other to retain power. His wings were clipped. Okay, but that is where the power of the people comes in, folks. If we sit back and we sit out this election saying, I don't like what Biden is doing, I'm going to vote for a third party, I'm not going to vote, you're going to be hurting yourself. You're going to be hurting the next few generations, because once these Trumpians come into power, don't fool yourself. They've got their plan already laid out with this Project 2025, 900 pages of what they want to do in every sector of the government. They want to replace all bureaucrats with people who kiss the ring. How do you think that is going to play? Last week we spoke about the Minocqua Brewing Company's case in Wisconsin that John spoke in detail about it. as to how the administration in Wisconsin was trying to crack down on this beer builder over there. And that is going to happen across the country if the Republicans manage to come into power in November. So it is very, very, very important for us to be up and alert on this, folks. I cannot overemphasize this. We don't want to make the entire show about this, but it's going to be our life going forward. So, Marie, thank you again for becoming part of the team over here. We will continue to push on this.
Yep, absolutely.
So, folks, if you have any questions, concerns, feel free to call in 773-763-9278. I know today is Father's Day and also the Eid al-Adha that is being celebrated. So a lot of you are probably going out with family for lunch and breakfast. I'm going to be going back with my family for our Eid prayers after the show is over today. And last week we had our person of the week who is... we couldn't really get him to patch in because he was busy, but Milton is probably going to see if he can join us today, if we can get him away from making those billboards in Chicago. Also, I was reading this morning that our congressman, I keep on saying congressman, Alderman David Moore of the 17th Ward has come up with this unique idea of wanting to sleep on the streets in a tent for the next few weeks to deter crime. I wonder how that experiment is going to play out. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to understand something. Alderman Moore has been a guest on our show in the past also. Wonderful person. I wanted to see if I could bring him on today, but when I called him, his mailbox was full. Obviously, a lot of people are trying to reach out to him, but we'll see if we can get the alderman to join us next Sunday if he has the time from the streets to join us. But that is one example of a lawmaker who is responding to the constituents by really going out and seeing, what it feels like to be in a war zone. Chicago is really, really, really getting a bad rap now all over the world, folks. We need to work on that. Okay. So, Marie, any other important thing that you feel that we should be talking about in the future? And I want to really talk about an audit of the Pentagon and the Department of Defense budget today.
100%.
And I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Forever a thorn in my side. And let me start by saying so that I don't get hate mail, because that we have to have a strong defense. There's no question. And the DOD should have a strong Department of Defense's DOD. The DOD should have a strong budget and one that is appropriate. But you're right, it should be audited. And here is why. Mm-hmm. It is nearly $1 trillion out of our budget. It is the largest single line item in the federal budget. So it is very, very important, right? There is no accountability in that budget to date. We are 260 years old, and there is no accountability mechanism. Congressman Pocan and I think AOC and a few others have put together a nice piece of legislation that would simply require an audit every year of how they're spending money. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you a couple of examples why we're concerned about this, is that frequently we are spending money on outdated weaponry and ships and other mechanisms of war that we can no longer use, but we have to keep them up because they're in a marina or they're in somewhere across the U.S. where they're being stored. And they're weapons, literally weapons or machinery we cannot use anymore because it's outdated. So those are the types of line items in the DOD budget we have to take some scrutiny over and say, is this the best way we should use this money? So an audit would really be helpful, because it's not that we want to take away all of their money, but let's just require that they spend it properly. It's as simple as that.
It's our money, basically. The request now for the 2024 going in the fiscal year 2025 budget, they are requesting almost $850 billion for the Department of Defense. Okay. Now, this is consistent with the caps approved by Congress under the Financial Responsibility or FRA of 2023. But $850 billion. Okay, what are you doing with my money? Are you buying those, $5,000 toilets? So what's happening over here?
Yeah, and it's not always that dramatic, but there is misspending. You know what else would be illuminating? That would be certainly illustrated in an audit that was required every year. Is that right now about half of that $859 billion budget is given to 5 defense contractors. So effectively, it's like a monopoly. So whether you are someone who is worried about how much we're spending or how we're spending it, but also with whom are we spending it, it seems antithetical to capitalism and a democracy that we're only letting 5 contractors control half of the DoD budget. So that would be really terrific to know that, because are we providing enough competition? Are the RFPs being executed properly so that everybody can compete and provide value? So that's very concerning to me as well in that.
Yep, and folks, remember, we are talking about billions of dollars. Okay, the term billion. You know how many zeros are in a billion, folks? 9 zeros. So you take one and put 9 zeros beside it. That's a billion. Now you multiply that by 850. That is the amount that is being requested by the Department of Defense. And as long as it's my money, I want to have some accountability on that. I want to see, where are you spending my money? Who's doing what for this? What value am I getting? That's a fair ask.
100%.
Okay. So if you are concerned about it, please reach out to your Congress member and ask them, what are you doing about this? Okay. We have got so much access to our representatives now in today's world. Feel free, pick up the phone, send an email, send a message, reach out to the social media. Ask them to please step up and hold these people accountable for how you're spending my money. We need to get value for the money. We're not asking you, saying don't spend the money. Yeah, we have to spend the money to keep us safe. But we do have the right to ask them, how are you spending it? How can we make it better? It's like running a business, folks. You want to make sure that you are getting value for your money. Again, the number to call in is 773-763-9278 if you want to join the conversation. With me today is our co-host, Marie Newman. John is celebrating Father's Day with his family. Ken is not feeling too good. He's been sick a couple of days now, and he will be joining us as soon as he feels better. I'm Mohammed Fahim. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side of the break to continue the conversation for the next 15 minutes. You are tuned in to The Lightning Strike on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk radio station.
Did you know there's an Illinois mandate that states by 2025, ComEd has to have 25% of the energy they deliver come from a green source? Because of this, plus the fees and taxes you've already paid on this program, if you qualify, you can get solar on your home at no out-of-pocket cost. This can mean an average savings on your electric bill of maybe 30 to 50%. More importantly, it would eliminate the uncertainty of ComEd raising your rates by whoever knows how much each year. Some people have noticed a 41% increase on their bill this spring, and ComEd has been asking for another 80% increase over the next 4 years. years. If your average bill is $200 a month now, maybe it could be reduced to $100 a month. Now, 5 years, would you rather pay $115 or possibly $400 to $500? If you'd like to see if you can qualify for this program, call Ken DeLuc at 312-617-8979. That's 312-617-8979. Help us save the environment and change that electric bill burden. That's 312-617-8979. Take advantage of this program while it's still available.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. We are in the final stretch of the show today, and we got Earl calling in from Hyde Park. Earl, thank you so much for calling and holding on while we were discussing this. What do you have on your mind, my friend?
Oh, I'm enjoying the conversation this morning, but I just wanted to interject something where I think that it's a little bit more complicated than you and your guests were just, your last caller were talking to, were expressing. I'll give you a couple of examples. For years, we've been producing armaments that we don't need. Well, you say, well, why are we doing that? Because Congress will want to keep those jobs going in their congressional districts. See what I'm saying? So that makes that more complicated. Another thing is you have the supply problem. You got quality control problems if you have too many suppliers out there and you can't control quality control. We just found out that Boeing and Airbuses have been using inferior titanium on their planes because they're starting to rust, and titanium doesn't rust. But it's because
Bill, Earl, do you remember a few years back, the Chicago Metro had ordered a bunch of new cars from China, and when those cars came in, it was found out that everything was starting to rust before it even hit the tracks. So, yeah. So we really have to be careful. Most folks are not aware that I'm the co-founder of an organization called as the Midwest Reshoring Initiative, along with a couple of good friends of mine. And reshoring, we started that about almost 15 years back now to bring back manufacturing from overseas back to our country by teaching manufacturers over here what is the actual cost of offshoring production. You don't save as much money as you think, okay? And this is something that I want you guys to go check out. It's reshorenow is the .org is the website. And the founder is a good friend of mine. He is the one who wrote a software program called the Total Cost of Ownership Estimator. And we have been giving it away for free now. We're trying to bring back manufacturing to the country. And so Earl, you're absolutely right, man. There are so many things that go into. And Marie, as a former Congresswoman now, what kind of pressure is Congress under to bring back jobs and keep jobs in their district? What is your perspective on that?
Well, thank you to the caller for bringing that up. That is a very important point that there are. So when you have military installations inside your congressional district, you get a lot of pressure to make sure that they are well funded. You can have both largely. So I'll give you an example. Is that we have a lot of installations in the Northeast where weaponry machines and the like are housed, right, whether it's on the water or on land. And they get immense pressure to make sure that those are funded. You can fund all of those things, but what we're saying is the audit will be helpful to everyone. And by the way, an audit wouldn't necessarily say, okay, we're going to expand it to 54 suppliers. Because he raises a good point, right, is that it is hard for the government to keep track of quality of said products when, in fact, we have too many suppliers. It's not that we would expand to a ridiculous number. Let's make it more fair. That's what I'm saying, is that let's expand the competition and the opportunity for all and create equity in the program, but also accountability in the program. For each member of Congress, this is how I approach it. When I was in Congress, I did not take any corporate PAC money for a reason, is that I would never have to be influenced. So that's one thing you can do. Say, our suppliers, our defense suppliers, are corporations. Don't take money from them, and then you won't feel any pressure to commit to whatever they want. I would say that there are plenty of members who don't feel the pressure, even though they receive money from them. But it is always there, and the lobbyists are unrelenting. You can't throw a stone inside of the Capitol campus without hitting a defense lobbyist. You cannot. It is everywhere. They are everywhere. So to that end, you're going to get hit up at some point, and you don't want to fall to that pressure, and you don't want to be influenced. So don't take corporate PAC money as a starting point. You can influence them there. But also know by simple having the audit, it won't affect quality.
Okay, Earl, so thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. Happy Father's Day, and thank you again for listening in. Feel free to spread the word. Go to our website, check it out to see what we are doing. It's tlschicago.com. And folks, we got Sheila White, our segment producer for our Person of the Week, on the line. Finally, we got our Milton Conrad is our Person of the Week, and we managed to corral him in and get him away from his canvases. Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Father's Day to all. I just wanted to say in this next few minutes, this gentleman is not only a father, Milton Coronado, but he's one of the top artists in Chicago that paints murals. Welcome to the show, Milton Coronado.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning, Milton. Good morning. We missed you last week, man. We were almost at the end of the show today. But thank you for, getting your paint can on the side and coming on.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Milton, quick question, man. Do you wear a mask when you are spraying those walls or not?
Oh, definitely. You know what? When I was younger, I didn't. But now that I'm getting older, I'm much more conscious about my health. So I do. I do wear a mask all the time.
Okay. Sheila, take it away, please.
Milton, I want you to give a little bit of history of when you started doing painting murals and things, doing the graffiti on the bad side before you got to the good side of doing it for the right reason.
Sure. Well, like many street artists or aerosol artists, which is spray paint, I did get started in doing it illegally, vandalizing and stuff. And I started when I was a teenager. But before that, I was already airbrushing T-shirts, for those who are familiar with that type of art on T-shirts and clothing. I was doing that, and I was selling it in high school. This was my junior year in high school, my third year in high school. And so some individuals who I didn't know at the time, who were already doing graffiti, took notice of that. And so they came up to me and they were talking to me about what they do and if I would like to go with them one day. And so they invited me out one day to go tagging. And so I did. And that time when I did, I got hooked. I got hooked and I fell in love with it. It was something about the adrenaline, the rush, the excitement, you can imagine. And it just became a lifestyle for me. And it was short-lived because that happened when I was about 16, 17 years old. And I stopped when I was 21. And the reason why I stopped was because of my father's passing. After he passed away, I kind of put the spray cans aside and I said, no more. I want to focus on solely positivity and giving back to the community, respecting my community and honoring everyone as I can within my community. So it was short-lived, but during those 4 or 5 years that I was tagging, I did learn a lot. I built a network of friends, of artists, because I was also doing it when I was in college. And so eventually I stopped, but I went back into it with much more different mindset, if you will, just giving back in a different way.
So, Milton...
it all started then.
Milton, where currently can we see an example of your art now? What project are you working on currently?
Well, you can see them all over the city. You can see them on the north side of Chicago. You can see them on the south side of Chicago, particularly more on the south side. There's this community called Pilsen, for those Chicago residents may be familiar with it. But in this community of Pilsen, there's a lot of murals. And in this community, you can see a lot of my art, specifically a lot of memorials that I do. So nowadays, I'm much more known for the memorials murals that I do. So I pay tribute to victims of gun violence up on walls. And it's a great way to give back to their family it's a great way to allow them to go through this art therapy motion, if you will, and also beautify the community. In doing that, I feel like we pay tribute to the victim. We don't forget the victim. We don't forget about the story. And if there's justice to be sought after with this mural, we don't forget the story so that we can continue to push towards justice. And you can see that all over Pilsen.
I have driven over there. In fact, my daughters, when they were going to school, they had rented an apartment in Pilsen. And I would always look at these big drawings. I'm like, man, I wonder who did that. So beautiful. And now it turns out it was you all this time, huh?
And you know, Milton, I want to ask you a question, too. When people are tagging, as you call it, a lot of people think it's negative. But can you tell some of the reasons why people tag these buildings and do all this graffiti? I mean, is it just for demolition of the property, or what's the reason behind it, do you think?
Well, there's several reasons why people tag. One, they tag because they have a passion for art, and it is a form of art. They just decide to put it up on a wall. When they put it on a canvas, people buy it. People are purchasing them, and it's an art that's very sought after. So they do it, one, because they love art, right? And it's also culture. They also do it to get themselves known out there, to claim respect, and to get their name just out there. They also do it to provide. This also provides finances, and it's their livelihood. A lot of times, this could be a part-time, this could be a full-time job.
Okay.
They do it for that reason.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Milton. We are coming up to the end of the show, and would love to carry the conversation with you some other time, man. There's so much to learn from you and what you're doing for the community and giving back. Folks, you are tuned in to The Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Fahim. Joining me today is our co-host, Marie Newman. And Bill Shepard has been on the line with us. He's our music director. And thank you to Sheila White, our segment producer, for our Person of the Week, and Milton Coronado for joining us. Feel free to join us anytime next Sunday from 9 to 10, or go to our website, tlschicago.com, and send in a request if you want to be a guest on the show. John Arena and Ken DeLuc could not join us today. Happy Father's Day and happy Eid al-Adha to all our listeners out there. Over and out. See you next week.
The preceding program, The Lightning Strike, was sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of Heartland